The 1970s were wild, a time of disco, pet rocks, and toys that taught us to spell. Ready to journey back to the fads you forgot? Let's start with shampoo that had everyone sniffing. Gee, your hair smells terrific shampoo. In the 1970s, Gee, your hair smells terrific became an instant sensation, not just for cleaning hair, but for its unforgettable fragrance. Created by the Andrew Jergens Company, this shampoo had an aroma so captivating that it became a conversation starter wherever you went. More than just a product, it was a way to leave a lasting impression. People fondly recall walking into stores or parties and hearing, "Gee, your hair smells terrific." In an era where scents could elevate your social status, this shampoo stood out for its ability to make you feel noticed. Even though the product eventually disappeared from US shelves, its legacy continues. In fact, it's still available in the Philippines, allowing a new generation to experience this iconic 70s wonder and keep its aromatic charm alive. Do you remember the last time you used a product that had everyone talking? It's amazing how a scent can transport you back to a different time, creating memories that last as long as the fragrance itself. Speak and Spell. Launched in 1978, Speak and Spell was a revolutionary educational toy that blended technology with learning in a way never seen before. Developed by Texas Instruments, this bright red device used early digital speech synthesis to help kids practice spelling over 200 words. Its robotic voice became iconic, guiding children through interactive spelling quizzes. Long before Siri or Alexa, Speak and Spell introduced a futuristic and engaging way to learn. It wasn't just a toy, it was a technological marvel that made learning both fun and challenging. Whether kids were spelling simple words like cat or tackling more difficult ones like difficulty, the game provided hours of educational entertainment. Speak and Spell holds a special place in the memories of many who grew up in the 70s and 80s, becoming a nostalgic symbol of early digital learning. Do you remember your first experience with a tech-driven toy that made learning exciting? And while Speak and Spell sparked a love for education, another quirky trend from the 70s was about to offer the easiest pet ownership experience, the pet rock. Pet rocks. In 1975, Gary Dahl's quirky idea of selling pet rocks became an overnight sensation. These smooth, palm-sized stones, housed in cardboard boxes complete with straw bedding and a humorous training manual, quickly captured the imagination of people across the country. The genius behind the pet rock was its simplicity. No feeding, no cleaning, no care required. The concept poked fun at the responsibilities of pet ownership while offering a fun, low-maintenance alternative. What made pet rocks so popular wasn't just their novelty, but also the tongue-in-cheek humor that accompanied the product. The idea of training a rock to sit, stay, or roll over added to the fun, and millions of these pets were sold in just a few months. Although the fad quickly faded by 1976, pet rocks remain a classic symbol of the quirky and lighthearted trends of the 1970s. Did you ever try to make your pet rock roll over? Kerplunk? Kerplunk was the ultimate family game of suspense in the 1970s, creating tension and excitement with every turn. Players would set up a tower of marbles balanced precariously on a web of colorful sticks, each one crucial to keeping the marbles in place. The objective was simple, yet nerve-wracking. Carefully pull out a stick without causing the marbles to crash down. As players took turns, the tension would rise with every stick removed, and the sound of falling marbles, Kerplunk, could strike at any moment. The game required strategy, precision, and a bit of luck, as players tried to outmaneuver their opponents while avoiding the dreaded avalanche of marbles. One wrong move, and it was all over. Kerplunk was a hit at family gatherings and parties, turning a simple concept into a heart-pounding competition. Its engaging gameplay ensured its lasting popularity, with various versions still being played today. Each turn left everyone holding their breath. Will you risk pulling the next stick, or will the marbles fall with a loud kerplunk? Pyramid Power. Pyramid Power was a fascinating fad in the 1970s, captivating the imaginations of those intrigued by ancient mysteries and cosmic energies. The concept behind Pyramid Power was that the shape of the pyramid itself could harness mystical forces, preserving food, sharpening razor blades, and even enhancing spiritual energy. People would place objects under small, pyramid-shaped structures in hopes of unlocking these supposed benefits. Though there was no scientific proof, enthusiasts were convinced that the geometry of the pyramids held the key to untapped potential. This fad emerged during a time when alternative spiritualities and New Age practices were gaining popularity, making pyramid power a natural fit for the era's desire to explore the unknown. Despite its lack of scientific validation, pyramid power attracted a dedicated following who believed in its ability to affect everyday objects and personal well-being. Did you or someone you know ever give pyramid power a try? Do you think it had any effect? Or was it just another quirky 70s fad? Let us know in the comments. Clackers. Clackers were a massive playground craze in the early 70s, captivating kids with their simplicity and challenge. The toy consisted of two acrylic balls attached to a string, which players would swing up and down, aiming to keep them clacking rhythmically. The faster and louder the clacking, the more exciting the game became, and kids would often compete to see who could keep the momentum going the longest. However, the excitement didn't come without risks. As the balls slammed together, they sometimes shattered, sending dangerous shards flying, leading to many kids walking away with bruises or worse. Due to these safety concerns, clackers were eventually banned and redesigned with safer materials to prevent accidents. Despite this, their loud and fast-paced action left a lasting mark on 70s nostalgia. Many still remember the satisfying clacking sound and the pride of mastering this tricky toy. Were you one of the kids mastering clackers until you got a bruise? Let us know your memories. Lemon Twist. The Lemon Twist was a simple yet addictive toy that became a backyard favorite in the 1970s. A brightly colored plastic lemon was attached to a loop that fit around the player's ankle. The goal was to swing the lemon in a circular motion while hopping over it with the other foot, keeping the rhythm steady. It was the 70s precursor to the later Skip It craze, offering a fun and challenging way for kids to improve coordination while getting some exercise. Whether playing solo or competing with friends, kids would spend hours outdoors, trying to see who could keep the lemon twist going the longest without tripping. Its easy-to-understand gameplay and colorful design made it especially popular during the summer. The toy required no batteries or complicated setup, just a kid with energy and a willingness to hop around. For many, the lemon twist evokes memories of carefree afternoons spent outdoors, playing in the yard or at the playground. Did you master the lemon twist, or were you always tripping over that spinning lemon? Paper fortune tellers. Paper fortune tellers, also called cootie catchers, were a staple of schoolyards in the 1970s, providing endless fun with just a piece of folded paper. Creating one was easy. Fold the paper into 4 sections, each hiding a fortune, number, or color inside. The player would ask a friend to choose a number or color, then move the fortune teller in and out before revealing the hidden message inside. Kids loved the anticipation and surprise of discovering their future, which could range from who they'd marry to how they'd perform on the next test. What made paper fortune tellers so special was their DIY nature. Anyone could make one with a little creativity and a sheet of paper. It was a way to bond with friends, dream up fantastical fortunes, and pass the time in class or during recess. For many, these simple paper toys sparked the imagination and brought endless entertainment. But as fun as paper fortunes were, do you remember the soundtracks of the 70s? Next up, we'll dive into the world of 8-track tapes. 8-track tapes. 8-track tapes were the go-to music format in the 1970s, transforming how people listened to their favorite albums. These bulky cartridges, often found in homes and cars, provided the convenience of continuous play without needing to flip the tape like traditional cassettes. For many, 8-tracks became synonymous with road trips, offering hours of music while driving across town or on long journeys. Despite their popularity, 8-tracks weren't without flaws. The sound quality was often inconsistent, and songs would sometimes be awkwardly interrupted when the tape switched tracks mid-song. But for listeners in the 70s, these issues were a small price to pay for the ability to enjoy albums on the go. Whether it was rock, pop, or country, 8-track tapes became a defining part of the decade's music experience, offering a sense of freedom and portability that hadn't been available before. But while 8-tracks were filling our cars with music, another backyard favorite was making waves. Do you remember the excitement of playing with lawn darts? Lawn darts. Lawn darts, also known as jarts, were a hugely popular outdoor game in the 1970s. The game was simple. Players would toss large, metal-tipped darts into the air, aiming for a circular target on the ground. It became a staple at family barbecues, picnics, and backyard parties due to its easy setup and competitive nature. Kids and adults alike would take turns trying to land their dart as close to the target as possible. However, lawn darts quickly gained a reputation for being dangerous. The sharp, heavy darts could cause serious injury if they landed anywhere other than the ground. As reports of accidents and injuries mounted, concerns grew over the game's safety. By the late 80s, the sale of lawn darts was banned due to the hazards they posed. Despite the risks, those who played during their heyday still remember the excitement and tension of each toss. Did you ever play with lawn darts? Were they as dangerous as they seemed?
Billy Beer.
In 1977, Billy Carter, the outspoken and colorful brother of President Jimmy Carter, launched his own beer brand, Billy Beer. Capitalizing on Billy's down-home, everyman persona, the beer quickly became a novelty, and it became a popular conversation piece across the U.S. The cans were emblazoned with Billy's signature and marketed as a product brewed expressly for and with the personal approval of one of America's all-time great beer drinkers. The association with the president's brother gave the brand significant attention, and for a brief moment it seemed like Billy Beer would be a hit. However, while the branding was memorable, the beer itself was considered mediocre. Many beer drinkers found it average at best, and the initial hype surrounding Billy Beer quickly faded. By 1978, production had ceased, marking its short-lived success. Despite its lackluster taste, unopened cans of Billy Beer became sought-after collector's items, cherished more for their quirky association with the Carter family than the beverage itself. From forgotten beer to foam balls. Next up, let's dive into the revolutionary toy that brought soft, safe fun into homes, the Nerf ball. Nerf ball. Launched in 1969 by Parker Brothers, the Nerf ball revolutionized indoor play with its soft foam design. Marketed as the world's first official indoor ball, it solved a common problem for parents who feared broken windows, damaged furniture, or injuries from rough play. Its squishy texture made it safe for all ages, allowing children to play without worry. Whether it was a game of catch or inventing new ways to use the ball, kids could engage in endless hours of fun inside their homes. The Nerf ball quickly became a staple in households across America, and its popularity helped spark an entire line of Nerf products. From footballs to blasters, the brand would go on to dominate toy aisles for decades. Nerf's soft and safe approach to play resonated with parents and kids alike, creating a legacy that still endures today. Whether in living rooms, backyards, or schoolyards, Nerf became synonymous with fun. How many Nerf battles did you have growing up? Did they ever turn into serious showdowns with friends or siblings? Waterbeds. Waterbeds became a symbol of free-spirited living in the 1970s, offering a unique and luxurious sleep experience. These mattresses, filled with water instead of traditional springs, promised a floating sensation that evenly distributed weight, reducing pressure points and giving sleepers a sense of weightlessness. It wasn't just a bed, it was an experience. Waterbeds quickly gained popularity, not only for their comfort but also for their novelty and status as a counterculture icon. Owning a waterbed became a statement, and many fondly remember the feeling of drifting off on the gentle waves. However, waterbeds came with their share of challenges. Leaks were a constant worry, and moving them was a logistical nightmare. Maintenance became a hassle for many, and as time passed, the craze began to fade. By the 1980s, waterbeds had largely fallen out of favor, but those who owned one still remember the wavy nights fondly. Did you ever own a waterbed? Was it as comfortable as it looked, or did the hassle outweigh the experience? Dashboard Hoola girls. Dashboard Hoola girls were a staple of 1970s car culture, bringing a touch of whimsy and a tropical vibe to countless dashboards. These small figurines, dressed in traditional Hawaiian attire, swayed back and forth on their spring mounts, adding a playful movement to every bump and turn of the road. Whether you were stuck in traffic or cruising on a road trip, the Hoola girls' gentle dance was a reminder of carefree, sun-soaked days in paradise. For many, these figures represented a sense of escapism and adventure, transporting drivers to distant tropical shores. Often paired with other novelty items like fuzzy dice, dashboard Hoola girls were more than just decoration. They became symbols of a fun, laid-back lifestyle. Though their popularity has waned over the decades, these kitschy figures remain nostalgic reminders of a simpler time in car culture, evoking smiles from those who remember their iconic sway. Speaking of quirky 70s fads, let's not forget the peculiar world of Mexican jumping beans. Ever had one of these lively little beans hopping around? Stay tuned. Mexican jumping beans. In the 1970s, Mexican jumping beans were a quirky toy that fascinated children and adults alike. These beans would jump and twitch when warmed, creating the illusion of life. The secret behind the movement was a live moth larva inside each bean, which wriggled when exposed to heat, causing the beans to jump. Sold in small plastic boxes, Mexican jumping beans were more than just a novelty. They combined science and fun in a way that intrigued curious minds. Children would spend hours watching the beans twitch and trying to guess the secret behind their movement. The product became a hit in toy stores across the country, sparking curiosity and providing entertainment. Although the beans would eventually stop moving as the larvae matured, they remained a memorable part of many childhoods. Mexican jumping beans were the perfect combination of natural science and whimsical entertainment. Did you ever own a box of jumping beans and try to figure out how they worked? Or were you surprised when you learned the secret inside? Biorhythms. In the 1970s, biorhythms gained significant popularity as people believed these charts could predict their physical, emotional, and intellectual cycles. Based on the idea that everyone operates on 3 distinct biological rhythms, biorhythm tracking was used to forecast when a person would have their best or worst days for various activities. This included everything from work performance to athletic endeavors. Each cycle had a different length, 23 days for physical, 28 for emotional, and 33 for intellectual, which people calculated to understand when they would be at their peak or in a slump. Biorhythms weren't just for curious individuals. Even professional athletes, such as the Dallas Cowboys, famously incorporated biorhythm tracking into their training schedules. It was believed that understanding these patterns could offer an edge in competition. While the trend eventually faded and was largely discredited due to a lack of scientific evidence, it captivated many during the 70s. Biorhythms gave people a sense of control over their daily lives, encouraging them to plan around their so-called highs and lows. Did you or anyone you know ever try biorhythm tracking? Cork Pop Guns. Cork Pop Guns were a beloved childhood toy in the 1970s, providing endless entertainment with their signature pop sound. These simple yet thrilling toys were typically made from plastic or wood and worked by shooting a cork tied to a string. When the trigger was pulled, the cork would burst out with a satisfying pop before retracting back, ready for the next round. Unlike other toy guns, Cork Pop Guns were safe, making them a hit with parents who wanted a harmless option for their kids' imaginative games. These guns were often a central part of make-believe adventures, turning kids into cowboys, cops, or robbers in playful backyard settings. The excitement of the pop sound and the feeling of harmless mischief made it a go-to toy for birthday parties, neighborhood playdates, and family gatherings. The light-hearted and nostalgic charm of Cork Pop Guns still brings back fond memories for many today. Up next, we'll explore a drink that promised to take you out of this world: Tang. Tang. Tang was a powdered orange drink that soared to fame in the 1970s, largely due to its association with NASA's space missions. Though it wasn't specifically developed for astronauts, Tang became a household name after being used on Gemini and Apollo missions. This marketing coup made Tang synonymous with space travel and modern technology, sparking the imaginations of kids who dreamed of one day being astronauts. Tang's appeal wasn't just its space-age allure. It was also easy to mix and packed with vitamin C, making it a convenient choice for parents. Many children eagerly drank Tang, feeling as though they were getting a taste of the future with every glass. The drink's bright, artificial flavor wasn't to everyone's liking, though, with some preferring more natural-tasting options. However, the connection to NASA made it feel exciting, giving it an edge over other powdered drinks. Did Tang live up to the hype for you, or did you prefer something less space-themed? The next craze we're diving into brought a bit of the ocean into people's homes with a fascinating twist: sea monkeys. Sea monkeys. Sea monkeys were a huge hit in the 1970s, marketed as instant pets that magically came to life when added to water. In reality, these creatures were brine shrimp, but that didn't stop their appeal from captivating the imaginations of children across the country. The idea of growing your own tiny living pets at home was irresistible, and the whimsical packaging promised hours of fun. Sea monkey kits typically came with a small plastic tank, food, and easy-to-follow instructions. Kids would eagerly watch as the tiny creatures began to hatch and swim around, though the sea monkeys were far less animated than the colorful, human-like drawings that graced their boxes. While they didn't quite perform tricks or follow commands as advertised, the process of bringing them to life was enough to make sea monkeys a beloved part of 1970s childhoods. Despite their simplicity, the exaggerated marketing made sea monkeys a cultural icon, symbolizing the era's fascination with fun, quirky toys. Do you remember raising sea monkeys, or were you skeptical of their magical claims? Simon Says. Simon was an iconic electronic game released in 1978 that tested players' memory and concentration. With its distinctive circular design and 4 brightly colored buttons, red, blue, yellow, and green, Simon would light up in a sequence, and players had to repeat the pattern by pressing the corresponding buttons in the correct order. As the game progressed, the sequences became longer and more challenging, pushing players to remember increasingly complex patterns. The game quickly became a sensation, captivating both children and adults with its simple yet addictive gameplay. Simon was a staple at parties, family gatherings, and game nights, providing hours of entertainment as players competed to see who could last the longest without making a mistake. Its blend of sound and light created a hypnotic, immersive experience that kept players on the edge of their seats. Simon's success marked a shift in the world of toys and games, as electronic entertainment became a more prominent part of playtime. The challenge of keeping up with Simon's flashing lights was thrilling, but how long could your memory hold out before you made a mistake? Mood rings. Mood rings were a colorful craze in the 1970s, promising to reveal the wearer's emotional state through their changing colors. Invented in 1975 by Joshua Reynolds and Maris Ambatz, these rings contained thermotropic liquid crystals that shifted colors depending on the temperature of the wearer's skin, which was thought to correlate with their emotions. Each color was said to represent a different mood: blue for calm, green for relaxed, black for stress, and so on. While the scientific accuracy of these claims was dubious, the fun and mystique of the mood ring made it wildly popular. The mood ring was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was seen as a window into your inner self, fitting perfectly with the era's fascination with self-awareness and New Age philosophies. Teens and adults alike wore them as fashion statements and conversation starters. The fad captured the spirit of the 70s, blending personal expression with a touch of pseudoscience. Though the mood ring fad eventually faded, it remains an iconic symbol of the decade. Did you ever own a mood ring? Did you believe in its mood-reading abilities, or was it just a fun accessory? Smiley face merchandising. The smiley face became an iconic symbol of the 1970s, thanks to a combination of clever marketing and the era's emphasis on positivity. Originally created by graphic designer Harvey Ball in 1963, the simple yellow face with 2 black dots and a curved line found its way onto buttons, stickers, and posters. By the 70s, the smiley face was everywhere, often paired with the slogan, "Have a nice day." The symbol's simplicity and universal appeal made it a marketing sensation. Companies capitalized on its popularity by putting the smiley face on everything from t-shirts to coffee mugs, creating an entire industry of merchandise dedicated to spreading good vibes. The smiley face became a symbol of optimism, peace, and the laid-back, carefree attitude of the decade. Though the smiley face is still used today, its 70s heyday remains unmatched in terms of cultural impact. Did you ever collect smiley face merchandise? Or do you remember seeing it everywhere during the decade? What's your take on its lasting power in pop culture today? Platform shoes. Platform shoes were a must-have fashion item in the 1970s, popularized by the disco craze and iconic figures like David Bowie. These towering shoes, with their thick soles and high heels, gave wearers both extra height and a boost in style. Whether they were part of a night out at the disco or a statement piece for everyday wear, platform shoes defined the bold fashion choices of the decade. The soles could be made from wood, cork, or even plastic, and the shoes came in all sorts of bright, flashy colors and designs. For men and women alike, platforms were a way to express individuality and embrace the larger-than-life aesthetic of the 70s. Alongside bell-bottoms and flared jeans, platforms completed the quintessential disco look. However, they weren't just about fashion. Wearing platforms was a balancing act, and many people found themselves struggling to walk without wobbling. Though the platform shoe craze slowed down after the 1970s, it occasionally resurfaces in modern fashion trends. The legacy of these shoes lives on as a symbol of a time when standing out was the goal. Did you ever brave the challenge of walking in platform shoes? How high did you dare to go? Leisure suits. Leisure suits were the epitome of men's fashion in the 1970s, embodying the laid-back yet stylish vibe of the decade. These suits were typically made from polyester and came in a variety of bright colors and bold patterns. They featured wide lapels, flared trousers, and matching jackets, often worn over a patterned shirt with the collar left open for that signature 70s cool. Leisure suits were originally marketed as a versatile option that could be worn both for casual and semi-formal occasions. The idea was that men could leisure during the day and still look sharp for a night out at the disco. Despite their appeal at the time, leisure suits were often ridiculed for their gaudiness and synthetic fabrics. Today, they're remembered as a symbol of the excess and flamboyance of the 70s. While leisure suits fell out of fashion by the end of the decade, they've made occasional comebacks as retro-themed party wear. Did you ever own a leisure suit? Or were you happy to see this trend pass? How do you feel about their bold style compared to today's fashion? Flicker rings. Flicker rings, also known as lenticular rings, were a cheap and cheerful jewelry fad in the 1970s. These plastic rings featured small images on the front that seemed to move or change as you tilted them. Flicker rings were often given away as prizes in gumball machines, cereal boxes, or sold at novelty stores, making them a favorite among kids. The images could range from cartoon characters to spooky designs or psychedelic patterns, and their interactive nature made them an instant hit. The technology behind the flicker ring was simple yet mesmerizing for the time. Lenticular printing used a ribbed plastic surface to create the illusion of movement when viewed from different angles, captivating kids and sparking mini-collecting crazes. Though they were often considered cheap toys, flicker rings held a special place in many kids' hearts as a form of interactive, wearable art. They were easy to collect, trade, and show off to friends. Have you ever worn a flicker ring? And do you remember which designs were the most popular? Perhaps it's time to rediscover this playful piece of jewelry history. CB radios. In the 1970s, citizen band, CB radios, became a massive fad, especially among truckers, motorists, and hobbyists who used the two-way communication devices to chat with others on the road. Originally designed for short-distance communication, CB radios gained national attention during the fuel crisis of the 70s, when truckers used them to communicate about fuel prices and police speed traps. As the popularity of CB radios grew, they became part of pop culture, thanks to movies like Smokey and the Bandit and songs like Convoy. CB radios came with their own unique slang and codes, with truckers and other users developing phrases like 10-4 for acknowledgement or breaker breaker to begin a conversation. People adopted CB handles or nicknames and shared messages across the airwaves, creating a sense of community among users. The accessibility and fun of CB radios made them a staple in cars and homes, and their popularity extended beyond truckers to everyday Americans. Though modern technology has made CB radios less relevant, they remain a nostalgic symbol of the 1970s. Did you or anyone in your family ever use a CB radio? What was your favorite CB handle? And do you remember any of the famous lingo? If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like and subscribe for more nostalgic fads and forgotten favorites. Thanks for watching. Let's keep those memories alive.